Hi everybody, in this video I'm going to go through the coding question in the practice quiz. So the quiz, the first half is just short answer and multiple choice questions that you will answer within an hour, and then the second half is a little programming exercise which you can take however long you need to do it as long as you submit it by the end of the day, 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday, the day of the quiz. And so what you're going to need to do is write a program based on the prompt, save it as a .py file, and then submit it to the Quiz 1 Dropbox. So what do we need to do here? I'm first actually just going to copy this into my idle file. Make myself some Python source code that I'm going to submit, just because that way when the quiz is over I still have that prompt. Oh, I don't want to open. I'm just going to make a new file and I'm just going to paste this in as a comment. Give myself some line breaks here. Alright, so what do we need to do? We need to write a program that implements a Caesar cipher on lowercase letters. For example, if the key, oh, there's a typo, great. If the key is 2, each letter is replaced by the letter that comes 2 positions later in the alphabet. For example, A becomes C and Z becomes B. So the Caesar cipher is a way to encode a secret message. And if somebody knows the key, then they know how to decode it. But we just need to encode it. We don't need to worry about decoding it. And so it looks like we're going to need to take in a message and a key. And I'm just going to write it first, assuming the key is 2, and add the key in at the end. So what is the first thing I'm going to need here? I would say a good way to do this is just to write a Caesar cipher function and call it on some test data as we're developing it. So I'm going to have a function, I'll call it Caesar cipher, and it's going to take in a string message. And what's this function going to do? It's going to encode message by shifting each character 2 positions in the alphabet, right? That's what we mean by A becomes C and Z becomes B. So, for example, if my message is cat, then I should return what? Well, let's actually just write out the alphabet here. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. So C should become, what's 2 after C? E. Ooh, okay, what's happening here? Return E. A should become C, and T should become V. So if the message is cat, we should get ECV back. And so I'm just going to write my test case here. I'm going to print whatever my function Caesar cipher does on the message cat. So what happens if I run it right now? Oh, I'm going to save it first. Practice quiz.py. So what happens if I don't do anything in this function at all? I just pass. Then I'm going to have a function that doesn't return anything, and so I'm going to get none back. That's fine. I at least have code that runs without errors. It's a great place to be. And then I will just add to this function until I have completed my task. So what do I need to do here? Well, I need to replace each character of this message, so let's say it's cat, with the letter to later. So it's sort of like if I had a long string consisting of these letters, then if I could get the index of my character sort of one at a time, say I'm processing the character C, I need to convert that to an E. So if I knew that C was in the 0, 1, 2 position, then I know that I need to get the E, which is at the 2 plus 2 equals 4 position. And so it turns out you might remember that strings actually have a method to get the index of the first occurrence of any substring you pass in. So if I actually have this as a string, I can call the index method on any substring. It would work on a substring like CDE, but I'll just call it on C, right? Because I just want the index of my character C. And I can check that this is going to work for me by trying to predict what should happen. Well, C is at index 2, so I want this to give me 2 back. And it does. We could try it again and see what index is. Oh, hey. H, I have an extra J in there, huh? Index of J, and it's 9. So now that we saw that I had an error in my sort of letters string here, this might be a good time to pop over to that hint in the prompt. So it says, hint, it may be helpful to use string.ascii lowercase, and if I don't remember what that is, I can click on this link. Oh, wow, it opens inside. Interesting. I did not realize that. Well, oh my. Let me go back. Okay. I'm going to just copy this into my browser, which you're welcome to do. You are welcome to use the textbook while you're working on this problem. You can't just Google Caesar Cipher Python, but you can use the textbook. So, what is string.ascii lowercase? Well, if I import the string module, string.ascii lowercase is just a string with all the lowercase letters. And so if you don't want to type out all the lowercase letters, or you're worried you're going to make a mistake like I did, you can import string and use this string.ascii underscore lowercase from within the string module. So I'm just going to do that because that sounds nice. So in order to use it, I need to import string, and then I'm going to say, I'm going to make this string, I'm going to call it letters, and I'm going to say, what is it? It's whatever ASCII lowercase is. And for now, all I'm going to do is print out letters just to make sure that this is working. I'll run it, and it looks like it's working, and I still get none from my function, which is what I expect. So, great. Okay, so it looks like we saw that the index method, if I call it on string.ascii lowercase, which I've called letters, then I will get the index of my current letter. So, but I want to process this message one by one, right? So how do I process it one by one? I'm going to use a for loop. I'm going to say character in message. What do I want to do? Get index of character. I'll say of char in letters. Then I want to use index to get letter 2 farther along in alphabet. My awkward way of saying that I want, say, A to be converted to C, etc. How do I do that? Well, we'll get to that, actually. So, just to remind ourselves that we can, in fact, loop over the indices, or loop over the characters in a string, I'm just going to go ahead and print this char variable. So on cat, what values should char take? It should take C, then A, then T, because we're looping over all the letters, all the characters in message. And so I'll run that and see if it does what I thought. Yes, it does. Great. Our for loop is doing what we expect. So now I can get that index by calling the index function or index method on my letters string. So letters is that string here. So I'm asking for the index of wherever my character is. So if I print this out, I can see, what do I expect this first C to be? Well, C is at index 2 in the alphabet, right? 0, 1, 2. A is at index 0, and I happen to know that T is at index 19. Or at least I think it is. Let's see if that's true. Yeah. So it looks like we're getting the index correctly. And so the next thing we need to do is get our new character, right? Well, what is the new character? It's whatever is at index plus 2 in letters. So when index is 2, the first time we go through this loop, what is index plus 2? It'll be 4. What's at position 4? This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, is E, just like we want, right? We want our C to turn into an E. And so this will be our new character, and let's just print that out to make sure that we're doing the right thing. I'll run this. And we said we should get ECV, and our new characters are indeed ECV. Now, what do we want? We want to return a encoded message, right? I'll say return encoded message. So right now we're just getting one character at a time, but we need to build up those characters into a message, right? Or into the encoded message. So maybe I will use an accumulator variable to build up the encoded message. So an accumulator variable, which we've used a lot, is a variable that every time we go through this loop, we're going to add to it. In this case, we're going to add characters to it, and so it needs to be a string. We'll say encoded message is what? It'll just be an empty string to start, and every time we go through the loop, we will add the new character to our encoded message. So the first time we go through the loop, encoded message will be set to the blank string plus what was our new char the first time? E. So the first time we go through, it'll be an E, and let's just see what it is each time, just to see our progress. Oh, and I will put this up a little bit so you can see it better. So the first time it was an E, the second time we go through the loop, it's EC, and the third time we go through the loop, it's ECV, which is what we want. So now, instead of printing it, let's just return that, right? And I'll just get rid of some spacing there. And I'll run this. And now it looks like our program appears to be working how we want. So let's try a longer example, like Bozeman. And now let's run this. And we get an error. So that's exciting. We get to track down what's going on here. So it looks like we're getting an error on the line where we set the new character variable to whatever the letters variable has at index +2. So that's this line right here. And it says it's an index error, string index out of range. So maybe we can interpret that error right off the bat, but if we can't, that is totally fine. We can print out some extra information for ourselves to help with debugging this problem. So maybe I'm going to print what the character is, I'll print what the index is, I'll print what the new character is. So this is after the error, but maybe we get through some of the decoding process before we get the error. We'll see. So if we run this, we see that looks like we do okay for a while. So when the character is, I'm gonna like that. Yes. When the character is B, the index is 1, that's right. The new character is, I didn't actually print it. New character is not printed. Okay, the new character is D. When the character is O, the index is 14, the new character is Q. When the character is Z, the index is 25, and that's when we get this string index out of range error. Because letters is only 26, there are only 26 letters in the alphabet, right? And so the last index is 25 since the indices start at 0. And so when we try to ask for what is index +2 when index is 25, well, it's 27. And so when we ask for letters at 27, we get a string index out of range error. So that makes sense. But so what should we do? Well, up here it says Z is supposed to become a B. And so when we get that Z, instead of asking for the letter at the 27th position, it looks like we should ask for the letter at the 1 position. And luckily for us, Python has an operator that can help us out in this case. So we want to take our 27, maybe let's go up here. So if index is 27, we want, if index +2, index +2 is 27, we actually want 1, right? And the way we can get this is using the mod operator, which gives us back the remainder when dividing. So remember x mod y, the % is the mod operator, is the remainder when dividing x by y. And so if we want 27 to turn into a 1, what can we do? We can take the remainder when we divide 27 by 26. So let's just test that out. What is the remainder when we divide 27 by 26? It's 1, because 1 copy of 26 can go into 27, and then there's 1 left over, and that's the remainder of 1. what if we were at 26, the position 26? What's 26 mod 26? It's 0. And that's nice because what would that mean? That would mean that we were at the 24 plus the 24th position in that letters string plus 2. And maybe I'll put this in parentheses, mod 26. So that's going to give us 0. And that's good because that would mean that we were at the position 24. So what's at 24? We know z is at 25. So y must be at 24. And so that means that y should go to whatever's at the 0 position, which is a. And that seems right. So if we mod this index plus 2 by 26, then we'll shift our y's and our z's back to the beginning of the alphabet, which is what we want. And we won't mess anything up. Let's say we're just at index 14, and we mod that by 26. Well, that's just going to give us 14, because what is 14 divided by 26? Well, no copies of 26 fit in, and so we have 14 left over. So that's a remainder of 14. So, translating this into our code, what did we have? We need to take whatever this index plus 2 is and mod it by 26. And then we hope that that will solve our error. And it looks like it did, and we got a B. Our Z turned into a B. That seems good. Maybe let's do something that has a Y in it. How about Jazzy? And let's take out these extra print statements for now. Confidently deleting our print statements here. And it looks like Jazzy turned into LCBBA. Our Z's turned into B's. Our Y turned into an A. Our A turned into a C. And our J turned into an L. That all seems right. So it looks like we have our program working for a key of 2. Now, let's say we want to use any key. So there our key was 2. So let's say our key was 3. I'll just put in that second variable. Let's say our key was 3. So what should happen here? Well, let's just look at the A, because it's easy. The A should be moved, instead to a C, it should be moved to a D. And where do we do that in our code? Well, right here, right? We take whatever index we were at, and we move it up by 2. But what if instead, we just replace that with key? Now, whatever key value is put in here, we will just move our letter up by whatever that key is. And so here, we expect this J to go to 1, 2, 3. So with 2, it would go to J, but it's 3, so it's going to go to K. A should go to D. The Z's should go to 1, 2, 3 C's, and the Y should go to B. So let's see if that works. Oh, I was looking at the wrong string when I said that J should go to K. J, this is not true. So J went to M, that looks right. A went to D, that looks right. Z's went to C's, and Y went to B. So maybe we try something crazy like a 10, and we run this, and we could check that, but it seems like it's probably right. And so at this point, I would say that we have succeeded in writing this program, I might delete this comment right there. And so at this point, I would say we're done, and you would just submit this file to the Dropbox if this was the actual quiz. For the practice quiz, you don't need to turn anything in. It's just a resource for you to prepare. So I hope that was helpful, and let me know if you have any questions.